What's up, guys? Welcome to the Empty Theater Show. I'm one of your hosts, Craig Fairbanks, and on my right, we've got out of Memphis, Tennessee, with his cute little glasses and LA Dodgers appropriating this city t-shirt,
John Joyner.
And on his right, we've got
Sean Hawkins. Wow, no intro for this old horse.
Sean Hawkins of Accessories. If you can't tell where he's from, he might scratch his head with his left hand, and you can tell he's from New York. So that's good old Shawnee boy. We love him dearly. If you're not familiar with the Empty Theater Show, the premise is pretty simple. 3 or 4 people come into a room. We all sit down. We talk about art. We all bring one topic and just kind of talk it out. It could be dance, could be visual art, could be theater, could be acting, could be music. Doesn't really matter. But we just try and get different perspectives and come at it from like a casual kind of place, sort of a coffee house vibe or a backstage before a show, backstage after a show kind of thing. You can tell probably we're not experts. This is supposed to just be a community thing where we just bounce ideas off of each other and try and improve our own thought processes. So that's kind of the show. And we've been also working on...
I've learned something.
Yeah?
While you were talking.
Okay.
I went to go cross my legs.
Yeah?
And I just realized how wrong it is for me not to be wearing shoes during this. Oh. It's a little too casual. For me.
Oh, yeah?
For me.
Well, don't look at mine.
I'm not... Sean, keep your feet...
Where's the left
It's right here. Keep your feet firmly... Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah?
I thought about it since I've been sitting down.
Is there something that's... I don't know. Do I lose all credibility when you get to see my toe hair? Maybe.
This is the last...
A memoir by Michael Joyner. Do I lose all credibility when you get to see my toe hair?
I mean, think about any dignified, like, respectable person.
I can't tell you what their toe hair looks like.
Exactly. You have no idea. And everybody's got it. All people have toe hair. Men, women, and maybe sometimes children, too.
It's the last episode.
It's the sequel to Everybody Poops. Is everybody's got toe hair?
Everybody's got toe hair. And
maybe if we put a dash of each of our toe hair in.
Ooh, make a little concoction. All right, that's all I have.
In episode 4, we get into the real necromancer stuff.
Yeah.
So it's pretty fun.
Just a thought for me. That's for nobody else. That's
just for you. Just a little.
For me.
Little light bulb.
It's just something that I learned about myself. It doesn't feel right.
Okay. Well, there's always episode 5.
Yeah.
So, boys, we had a pretty productive meeting earlier this week. We are looking for a creative project to do out in the real world. Beyond this camera, well, actually, this camera will probably be involved. Beyond this set, which is our living room. Mm-hmm. So I think we had a pretty good talk about that. And the project is called Carbon. Mm-hmm. It's a immersive theater piece that will take place in most likely this apartment.
Probably.
And it's based off of a lot of poetry you've been writing over the course of, I think, the last few years at least.
At least 4.
Yeah, that's a few, I think.
2013. So
nice. So, do you guys want to walk us through a little bit what the show is?
Yeah, briefly, and I'll go based off of the title. So the inspiration for the title was this idea in science and the universe that carbon, and I really need to fact check this before I
hope it's so wrong
any further.
Well, if you eat carbon, you gain muscle and you look better and your skin is shiny.
Here's the thing. Carbon, I know this from biology.
Yeah.
Carbon is used and it's in your body and it's a building block. Now, hold on, follow me here. It's a building block and it binds to other elements and it makes things. And if I remember correctly, in between while I was sleeping in class and not paying attention, I seem to remember somebody saying that it's everywhere. It's very ubiquitous. It's common. It's the same thing that is in stars and planets and things that are so far away and not even a part of this known world, this physical world here.
Okay.
And so, but it's beautiful because for that very reason that it's common, it's also something that, you now have a lot of the same makeup of the universe.
There's a relatability.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
And so how it kind of focuses on this piece and the poetry is that, that everyone has emotions and feels things and they're made up of all of these things, but in my mind the greatest thing that you can feel is love, genuine love for another person. And when that's reciprocated, it's beautiful and it's the most incredible thing that you can experience. But at the end of the day, it still is, it's common. If you were to tell me, you know, the moment that you first fell in love, while I can appreciate what that means to you because you're telling me and I understand in my own sort of like world of like I can compare that or relate it to other experiences, but at the same time not to diminish you or to diminish me or Sean or anyone else, is that it is still exactly that. It's something that it's everywhere. Because everyone's feeling stuff like that. Everyone's falling in love. Right. Or everyone's getting their heart broken. Or everyone's hungry or sleepy or tired.
Sure.
Which is the same, sleepy and tired, or you know, whatever it is. Everyone's feeling all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're no different, but it still is the most important thing for you personally. So that's kind of that's the inspiration.
It's a good title, I think.
Yeah.
And the piece is going to function. I don't want to get too into specifics because we're still workshopping things and it's a little vague, but it's going to be probably a show for 1 or 2 audience members tops coming through at a time, and there will be different visual aspects to go with it that have to do with some things we're about to talk about, technology used in theater today, and different mediums and some tactile, very first-person present stuff that is kind of, I think, unique in theater today. I mean, more rare, not necessarily unique, but definitely more rare.
Yeah, and the only other thing that I'll say about it is that we're trying very hard to make theater or make this piece based on those technologies and acknowledging them for what they are, what they could be used for, especially how that relates to the audience member's specific response to the piece. So that's kind of like, that's where for me I'm like, ooh, I'm excited because you're thinking, I mean, it's like a magic show. Like you're thinking about, you know, if I do this with my hand, you look over here, and while I'm doing that at the same time, I'm doing something over here, and I know that you're going to see this, but I really, like, that's where the trick happens, or that's where the sleight of hand or the deception, not that we're trying to, like, actively fool people, but that's where the magic happens. So it's definitely something that I'm really excited to work on with you guys. We're going to be finding ways as we move further on from today and into the project to where, you know, we're going to be trying to figure out platforms and how we put that on the internet and what can be seen and what can be read and what can be felt and all of that stuff, how it all links together, so that if you never see the show or you can't see the show or it's still in process, that it's still something that makes sense and that it stands on its own as art.
An accessible idea.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely.
So
yeah, I think that was good. It just felt nice to get the 3 of us in the room and kind of like do a creative powwow.
Yeah, and then go work a 10-hour shift at Burger
Caterers life.
To cater, yeah, that was fun. But yeah, that's it. That's all we got.
Cool.
That's it.
So that was a little bit of just like current events for the 3 of us.
Yeah.
And I think now let's transition into our first topic.
Yeah.
So Michael, you wanna hit us with it?
Yeah, I guess it actually ties into what we were just talking about with Carbon. So I wanted to talk about technology in theater, and more specifically its use, and more specifically than that, probably how audience members or how the process or people who are making it happen, how they respond to it. And I don't know, I have feelings about it, and I think that I know what those feelings are, but as it relates to a topic that I'm like presenting, I don't know if I can quite point to it exactly and be like, that's what I want, like that's why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. The only example that I can think of immediately that comes to mind is the use of projections. So like projection mapping over the last, I would say 5 or 10 years has gotten to be very, very high tech. It's a lot more accessible because you're able to buy really nice projectors, and there's programming that goes with that allows you to really be very specific in terms of where exactly you throw images and the angles, and it's almost like incorporating some sort of like creative suites with Adobe and having the flexibility between using things like Premiere, InDesign, or Illustrator, or Photoshop. You have these programs that are so specific to every little aspect of what it is that they're made for, that you can really you can tailor and specify what it is that you're making in relations to, like, you know, the purpose of why you're making it in the first place. And to me anyways, I'd be curious to hear what you guys think, and if you have examples to put you guys on the spot and to test your theater knowledge. I'm just wondering if you have seen examples of that have really worked, or if you've seen examples of that are really not working, or would you say, like, you know, something with like music, would it have, for example, like if you were to use music, yes, you can use Spotify, or you can use, you know, I don't know, whatever program to cut something, make something really seamless, and you could make a whole soundscape. Or is it more effective to use just the classic guitar on stage, drums on stage, the 15-piece brass band on stage? Like, what works, what doesn't,
more?
What do you prefer?
Yeah.
There is no right answer.
Yeah.
Please start talking. So
Do you have something?
I have one example that recently saw, but you do too, I think.
I can go off on this, but you go first.
Okay, well, the first thing, and I don't have much of an opinion on it, other than I think what's each theater piece would be different, is what I would imagine, and what works for each. But just seeing the Cirque du Soleil show in Las Vegas, I mean, that's more performance art and musical theater and whatever it is, but that was the most technologically advanced show that I saw on stage, and the way they did it, and even having like a hologram of Michael Jackson on stage that was very real and very advanced. I don't know, it was really interesting to see, and I also thought that the technology brought me into that piece more, because I think that with some of his music, specifically Michael Jackson, technology played into it really well.
Right.
So the way they did it was really cool. And I don't know, though. That's the furthest down that line I've ever seen.
Well, what were some of the things that they were doing? Like,
just between, I mean, the most accurate and the grandest lighting I've ever seen.
Really?
Projection, I mean, different type of projection,
Right,
but
right,
having
right.
a hologram of Michael Jackson on stage moving around, that was pretty wild. And
So
then
creepy.
Music, I mean, I guess it's all his music, so
Right.
it needed that. And then just, I don't know, Cirque du Soleil in general, just having high wire acts and.
Oh, so they were. It was
stage
still something that was very like circus.
Yeah. Very
driven.
much so. So
Okay.
that's different than.
Cirque du Soleil is incredible. Have you ever seen a show?
Mm-mm.
It's
I never have.
it's definitely worth it. I've only seen one, but it was like one that wasn't necessarily one you hear about all the time.
Right.
And I still was like left being like, holy cow.
Yeah. So-
Right.
And that's why I think that in that way that show needed that, because I was very moved by that show by the end of it, because I mean whatever, you grow up with Michael Jackson, or you can't not be aware of him, obviously, but I thought it's what the show needed, and I thought it was very well done. But I don't know how that would transition to other pieces of theater specifically. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you: Did you, in your mind as an audience member, did you see that as a piece of theater, a piece of performance art that was being presented to you, or did you see it more along the lines of a musical concert, or did you see it more along the lines of like spectacle, to where it was all of those things kind of coming together and all of those parts forming something that was much greater than the sum of them? Like
Yeah.
I mean, how did you see it?
Yeah, I would go spectacle. I think I was being a little. It's tough because when I'm watching a show like that, I'm looking for things and I'm separating and saying, oh, that's why this is working, that's why that's not working. I'm being aware of that. I don't know as an average audience member how you would feel if I tried to tap into that, but basically sitting there, it all came together. It all made sense. It was all what the show's title was. It was
Right.
beautifully done and really spectacle.
What were the things that you were feeling? Specifically, where were you seated? How and I'm not to say like you have to be on the front row to enjoy something like that, but like I would be curious to hear the distance and the space and where you were in relation to all of that. I mean, was it in a big venue?
Big venue. And I was a ways back, but still it was such a huge performance. But it worked for the piece because you felt like you were at a concert. That's what they wanted you to feel, like you were going to a concert.
Okay,
and
so it had
that
like
feel.
a stadium concert sort of feel.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it worked for that. Now, if I were going to see a play, I would most certainly never want to be that far from the stage.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder if your opinion would have been changed if you were closer to it. If it, I mean, that you can see like the nets.
Yeah.
I don't know if Cirque du Soleil uses nets,
Oh.
but if you know, if you could see the safety precautions or any of the stuff that they're doing, if that's something that would have pulled you out, or if you were further away, that you wouldn't have noticed exactly. All of that stuff, you would have lost some detail, but you would have gained like more of a greater, I don't know, sort of like contextual idea of what they were trying to go for. Does that help you or does it hurt you or whatever?
Yeah, it would be interesting to see. I think closer, obviously, you're just seeing more of what's going on. But they also do a really good job of making sure that everybody in the audience has something going on. The way they project, not just on the stage, but they have projections going up the walls, characters coming down the walls. They had a woman in a moon who sang throughout the show, who would be floating around. I mean, this thing would go throughout the whole audience. So the whole room was part of this performance. So it was very... It's just
like
well
seamless.
done. It was well done for what it was. If you're going to throw that much technology into a room, I would hope it's that well done.
And for me, that's where I come down on this. It has to be contextually appropriate, and it also has to be seamless. And I think that's something that we miss, specifically in theater, and more so in like regional theater, which is what I think of when I think of instances where you've seen it and it's a little jarring. Like, why are we suddenly watching this projection here? What is this really helping? Why is there suddenly a film on the curtain before they open up to do this? Or why is there suddenly like a convenient white space that becomes a TV in the show? You know what I mean? It doesn't quite sync up the way you'd want it to. So I think it has to be... Obviously, any production in Vegas is going to have enough of a budget that they can really make it look like it just is supposed to be there. It doesn't seem like someone was like, well, what if we pointed this one projector we have here and kind of shoehorned it in? And I think there are some very talented designers who can do incredible work with that, but still for me as an audience member, it can feel a little bit like, this doesn't seem... It seems like someone was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we put in projections? Versus like, oh, this could really, really enhance the story. And maybe that's just my personal opinion and my take on it. But I would rather it kind of contextually fit in the show a bit more. I think the two productions I've ever seen where people absolutely nailed this were both by the National Theater, and that would be War Horse and The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime will make you believe that technology should be in like every single theater show. It's just incredible. I think I've talked about this before, but the whole set is like a box. So if you took out like the front layer and then the top, it's all a wall. It all looks like a grid. Stuff comes out of the wall. It all lights up like an LED screen. They use different projections on it. They use different lighting along with like the lighting grid they have in the theater space. It feels like a world. It feels like in that world it makes sense that when a boy is trying to climb an escalator, the escalator suddenly comes out of the wall and he's able to go up it. You know what I mean? It all fits. It's not like we're doing, I don't know, the Glass Menagerie and suddenly there's like some montage somewhere that's projected on a wall.
And
it's
like, rain,
It's like, I'm not sure what I think about that. So I guess it just has to serve the story. And then I think it has to be to the point... It's kind of like CGI in the 2000s, where like you look back at it now and you're like, that's distracting because it's not quite like effortless yet. I think in like 10 or 15 years it's going to be effortless because technology will be there. And it also, I think, it depends on the theater company's budget. Because, I'm sure the production value for a Vegas show or a national theater show, they're like, oh yeah, take all the money you want and make this excellent, So it's hard, but as long as it serves the story, I think it's a great thing to have.
Yeah, and I also think that the further we get down the line, I mean, look how much we can do in a room with the things that we have,
Sure.
audio-wise and video-wise, and how much is accessible to us now. It's just, I think, I really agree with you, Craig, is that it has to serve the story, and it has to tie in, because I think there's plenty of options and ways to add to a show with technology. It's got to fit. It's got to be right.
It's like, to me, it's like it needs to be like a lighting design or a sound design, where it's so good and it adds perfectly, but unless you're looking for it, you don't really notice
Exactly.
it. But if you did look at it, it would be the most beautiful thing that you just sort of weren't aware of.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of sound designers and lighting designers who do incredible work, but it doesn't distract. It just adds so much that you're like, holy cow, it just seems like you're drawn into whatever's happening on stage. But really, what lasered your focus in like that was their sound design or lighting design. And I think the problem is a lot of time I see, this just sounds so judgmental, but you see projections used in a way where it's like, oh, and now we're watching this
Right.
box on the wall, and now that's done. And it seems like it was covering a transition. Or it seemed like it was plugging something for the theater company before the show.
Right.
It's
So-
like, go ahead.
you go ahead.
Well, no, I was gonna say it's like it's like getting interrupted during a show or reading a script or something. When you break,
It takes you out of the moment.
When you break that moment, then you got to take all that energy to get back in that moment.
Right.
So if you can avoid separating people from the piece, then that's when you're in the groove. You just can't let that separation happen.
So I think as people try and use technology more effectively in theater, as we're going to attempt to do, and I'm sure we'll have successes and we'll have failures with it, just like anyone else would. I think it's just really trying to be sure that it's contextually sound and that it's there for a reason other than like, wouldn't it be neat if this was a thing?
Sure. And so if I'm hearing the both of you guys correctly, the seed, as it sounds that you guys are presenting, it's the idea of practicality, of something actually being able to work, that when it fits in the greater context of like the piece of theater or the metaphor that you're trying to accomplish. I'm with the Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night. I'm sure of it being very squared and gridded and the lights and it's it's sensory overload and there's textures to it and it's seeing space or something that's that's what autism is. That's like what like how the world is seen differently through the eyes of people who have it, and you can't necessarily describe it or explain what it feels like. You can try, you can get close, but without having a really good example of like, all right, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take all the technology that we have, we're going to put, we're going to put, blinders on you or impair the way that you see or feel, and then we're going to do something that, all of that stuff. I mean, I guess, as like hearing you guys talk about it, it's kind of like a simple like dumbing down, but I was just thinking like the light switch needs to turn on if
Right, it needs to work.
It's
you can
have
it's the world. It
right.
really informs the world. It's like any good TV show.
Sure.
Like as soon as something breaks, what you think of the world. If someone makes a cameo appearance in a famous TV show and breaks that reality, it takes you out of it. You know what I mean? And technology can do that, just like we as actors could do that by being a shitty performer. You know what I mean? Or by flubbing a line. It has to all just flow.
Yeah.
And it
What
can be
is
dropped. The ball can be dropped by
suspension
anyone.
of disbelief or whatever. That the technology should really be aiding that. It really
Right.
can aid that.
Mm-hmm.
But if it doesn't, then it seems like.
But it's the most effective when it actually works.
When it works, yeah.
When you turn on the light to go back to it, and it's not a parf or up top that's shining down. That all of a sudden it's like a cue off of like, all right, and cue L37 ready, goes to flip the switch. Go cue. It rather than just walking over to a light switch and flipping it on. I think that's probably at the root of it, at least for me, and hearing you guys talk about it, like that's what it's about. It's theater for so long. It's like it's all just suggestion. It's like I'm holding a gun to make you think that it's a gun, but in reality it's a starter pistol that has like or a cap gun that has the cap painted black.
Sure.
And it's why you can have something like Birdman be so jarring, because you're going through and you're thinking like, oh, I know this is it. This is, it's a play within a movie, and then in reality it's like that's a real fucking gun, and you get real reactions to that.
Right.
And is that more powerful than just merely suggesting it and you using your own imagination?
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, isn't that exactly what theater is really just like a vehicle
Yeah.
to explore and
Yeah.
entertain that imagination, and it's not real, and that's why you can sit in a dark room for 3 hours and watch somebody play a child molester, but then you don't have to really grapple with the ethical or moral ramifications of that, and then you can say, yes, I've learned something. Isn't that great? My culture quota has been fulfilled. I know not to do that to people, or I know not to think that, and then I'm smarter for it.
Little how I learned to drive reference.
So fucking stupid. Theater's so dumb. Why do we even do it? It's so stupid.
No, it's not.
I think it is. That's so dumb.
Nah.
And the way that that's presented
Nah.
makes me mad. That's silly.
Okay. You have a better idea?
No, it's just it's another. I'm gonna have to write it down and think about it, because I feel like it's a whole nother topic.
Well, yeah.
But it's, the idea of like, why do we do theater? And it's not. It's not like, oh, I don't need to read like, I don't know, a book because I know that, I can't even think of an example right now. My brain is just like a little scrambled. Like, you don't need to read To Kill a Mockingbird to hear or to learn about like the social injustice that exists in like a prejudiced, like somewhat racist society, and then how that deals with like the court system and like a court of law.
Okay.
But if you read the book and you can appreciate that for what it is, and you can still like, it's still a great piece of literature, and it doesn't dilute any of the things.
Are you asking why do we need the art to tell us the thing? Like why does art have to be the thing that tells us these things?
I suppose so. Like, and it's not in like an arrogant way of like, this is 2017 and we're people and we've done, and like all of the things that we've learned and how far, because obviously like people are still getting absolutely destroyed by the same things that have been plaguing all of humanity since its inception. But I think it's a lot to ask. Hold on, let me think about this really carefully. I think it is maybe it's a bit lazy for audience members of any sort of artistic discipline to go into a place and being expected, like be with the expectation of being moved, or with the expectation of being of learning something, or some sort of revelation, or some sort of nugget of truth or wisdom or beauty be revealed to them. In my own soul's stupid dumb opinion, I think that beauty or that truth or that is prevalent throughout everyone's lives, whether you're an artist or not. And it's a little sad when it's sad when you see people who don't marvel at the same things that everyone should be marveling at. Like just walking outside and feeling the weather as opposed to the air conditioning is a wonderful feeling, and it's something that everybody should appreciate when the days are sunny, and even when the days are gloomy or when it's not, because it provides the contrast that makes everything stick. But like, how many times do you have to see a movie that the moral of it, or like the lesson or the theme of the piece is like, appreciate life to appreciate life?
Well,
and it's
it's just like a gentle reminder, because we all get blinders on as we're going through whatever our life is. We all get wrapped up in what we're doing. I think art should imitate life, and it's like a compass.
Yeah,
it pulls you back to those things.
But at the same time, you could use art as an escape or as an excuse not to do the things that you want to be doing, or not to do the things that you feel like doing, because you can watch something on Netflix Hulu, Amazon, any sort of movie anywhere that's ever been made. And as we get further and further and further into the scale of like, or deeper into realism, it's like you like. This is such a stretch, and it's so shitty to even say, but like, I would never. I don't know. Like, I would never run for office, or I would never want to be a politician because I see House of Cards and I've seen it, and I know that that's not exactly what happens, but I know that stuff like that is happening because without the real life, something like House of Cards wouldn't exist unless, you know, it's a complete piece of fiction and you're, you know, it's this like dystopian society that you're imagining.
But I think that analogy kind of argues your own point.
How so?
Because it informed you about something you wouldn't have known about otherwise because you're not in politics.
Yeah, maybe so.
I have a question.
It's sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'll just
walk up.
This will be a sentence.
I'm totally kidding.
I think it depends on the person, and I think it's like, you know, television doesn't give someone escapism. It can give someone escapism in a way that changes them, or it can give them escapism or in a way that's irresponsible. And I think it depends a little bit on audience participation. Just how, you know, anything is. It's kind of like what you put into it is what you'll get out of it. Sean, go ahead.
Oh, now I'm forgetting what it was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's not you. I'm just trying to think how to word it. But it's you're asking why the audience would keep watching something. I think it's also interesting to ask, why does the artist keep making it? If, you know, we think it's silly to ask the audience to keep watching and processing the same thing and learning the same thing.
Well,
like
expression is also
Shakespeare is a
part
great
of life.
example. I know. Yeah, I agree. Shakespeare is a great example of why would we take the same material from over 400 years ago and continue to. I mean, that's like watch it. I've watched one movie 20 times, but I've, you know, Shakespeare for 400 years. I'm losing my train of thought. Anyway, why do we keep making and telling the same stories in little slightly different ways? But I think it's just so interesting that. But I was going to say what Craig said too about it's just a gentle reminder of.
I don't know. It's
to appreciate something.
This is deep stuff,
really
and it is so. It's
I'm
such a
about to quit
great.
this shit. I'm not doing it anymore.
It's
silly
such a
because it's
great
who cares about my opinion about this, or who cares about your opinion about this, or who cares about Sean's or anybody else? Why should we care about what Dan Harmon has to say about how a story is structured? Why should we care about, you know, Kevin Spacey and his ability to portray, you know, deep, complicated, nuanced, like.
Because that accent is good.
Yes, I know, but not specific. But like. You all know it, like that's because that's why you can relate to it in the first place. Like you know what it's like to like. And all I can think of is just like graphic things, but like, and not like, but just like inappropriate. No, but just like I don't know. I don't want to like just be like. I don't want to be like braggadocious about it, but like. Like you know what it's like to get deceived, or you know what it's like to feel taken advantage of, or like or like lied to.
You don't think the catharsis is worth participating in art? And I know like right now we're just exploring an idea, but I think that's part of it, right? It's not like you watch someone get murdered in Game of Thrones and you're like, oh, that's what murder is. Wow. It's like intriguing because of the drama and because of how these characters are feeling and why someone died, and you know you can sort of relate to that because maybe at one point you've been really angry in your life. You're like, oh, and it just kind of gives you a little bit of that. But that's a really optimistic way of looking at it, because there could also be someone who's like, death, like, you know, you're just kind of being voyeuristic with the medium.
Right. But yeah, I mean, and I wouldn't say, like, I don't need to watch something like Making a Murderer, like Confession Tapes that just came out on Netflix to know, like, hey, like, really bad things can happen to you if you claim to do something that you didn't do. If you could say that, like, I murdered somebody and you didn't, or they, what, like, bad things can happen, injustices exist everywhere, you know. But at the same it's like it the art isn't pointing to the morality that already exists inside of you. And maybe that's because I believe that it is inside of you as a person first, and then it's not formed by culture or society or examples of that, whether it's in art, literature, television, film, or even like stories, like fables. You know, like I don't know, going back to like mythology. You know, you shouldn't have to. It's something that makes sense. Like if you are prideful, if you think that you can fly as high as you want and that you're above like the laws of nature and physics, even for that matter, that like you're gonna end up like Icarus and the wax is gonna melt, you're going to fall to your death.
Sure.
But you can I think that art. It's not that I'm saying that art isn't important because of that, and yes, like you can watch I don't know, even in you can watch an example of like a fall from grace in television or film, or and it resonates with you because of it, because that's something that's inherent. I don't know. I believe that it's just inherently inside of you, and then you can see other examples of that in life. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's more of a conversation of like whether art informs life and life informs art, but not in that like. That's like I think that's like a very surface level, like.
I think it's more of a circle.
I think that there are a couple more layers that are deeper than that, and at least the way that I'm feeling right now, I'm feeling like I'm getting down there, but I don't have any idea. It's like dark. It's like dark. It's the surface of the light can't get into the ocean, and it's that first little bit that starts to get cloudy and a little like and you can't see. You don't know what's down there, but something is down there.
What were you going to say, Sean?
I don't know what he's saying.
I don't know if it's getting away, but I think I just could think of one example of art informing life too. Maybe a couple examples, but like 1984, somebody who writes a book like that way back when and have it inform so much of where we're headed, or Black Mirror, for example, things that maybe, or Star Wars, things like that, where all of a sudden we start to see we're closer to those type of. I don't know. Is that already a pre-existing idea that somebody just wrote down? And
I think 1984 is a really good example.
I think we have a really interesting way of, and I think artists really help paint the picture. But if we put the idea out there, we start to head in that direction. I think as humanity in general, which I think is interesting to think maybe the art in a certain small way does inform where we're headed, because I think that still we're the creators, even though we've been, I don't want to say too much, even though we've been created or formed or whatever we are, I think that we're still creating in a weird way and heading towards, this might be a real stretch.
Well, history repeats itself. I think it's a hard...
But,
yeah, it does, but there's things that are happening that have most certainly not happened before, right? I mean, with technology and...
Yeah, but I mean, hearing what you're saying about like I'm sure nobody thought that space travel was possible until they saw something like Star Wars, and now you have Elon Musk coming out just a week ago, or a couple of days actually, I think it was yesterday or something, talking about traveling on rockets anywhere in the world and getting there in under an hour. Flights on a rocket from Shanghai to New York in 37 minutes, halfway around the world, and like. I'm sure, definitely. If you don't see something like Star Wars and you don't have that idea as a kid that like, other worlds are out there, space or something's out, and there's examples of that in life, that we've had telescopes before 1971 or 3, whenever it came out, and people know that there's more out there that exists. But I think that life gets informed because of that. But I think at the same time, it's like.
I'm with you still.
It's like what I lost it. I was thinking like along the lines of like.
Here's what I think. I think this is a good part 1 to this, because we kind of transitioned out of what we were talking about, and I think we should all think about this, and then let's talk about it next week. Because I feel the same. I feel the same. Yeah, I do too.
The frustration.
I feel the same way. I just need to sleep on it and think a little bit more, and I think I'll have a more.
I remember what I was going on really quick before I lose it. So you were talking about, you said that is somebody saying it was Star Wars and now we're thinking about space travel and it's possible on Mars and all that stuff, that if an artist puts something out there, if Leonardo dreams up a helicopter, even though he doesn't have the means to build it, or doesn't even really fucking know what he's talking about in the first place, but he puts together this sketch, and then hundreds of years later, okay, sure, I can see, like, that can definitely happen. But I think in the real world that there are things that people are trying to do that are not maybe necessarily artists in like the traditional sense, like they're not painting, but there are people that are out there that are really trying to fix things of real concern, like hunger or climate change or I don't know, whatever it is. And those problems still aren't being fixed, even though people are giving a lot of time, a lot of their efforts, a lot of technology, money to it. It's like, what? And it's not to say like, well, fuck it, we can't fix the world now. We've, gone through 10,000 years of being here on this planet, and it's just whatever. It's like our time. But I guess the question that I would ask is, why is art important? Like, why should we make it in the first place? But I guess it's more along the lines of why do we think that art can save us from ourselves? If that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, I think you have to have a healthy. It depends on your concept of what art's going to do for you. I mean, if you're looking, I consider myself in the artistic community. I try and live and breathe this stuff, but I don't look for it as a validation or any type of salvation from whatever issues I'm having or whatever. It's just kind of an expression that I do believe can help people. Obviously not in the same way that like someone who's on the ground in a place of need helping physically does, but I think art does help people in a community. I think that's been proven throughout history, maybe not to a lesser extent than probably going to help with like Hurricane Harvey would have. It's a little less direct, but there is still I think a benefit to it. But I don't know. I think it's just complicated. It's really complicated.
I think it's really complicated. One word that just came to my head is empathy, and I think that
that's very true.
One thing, no matter how much work everyone else in the world is doing and in different paths and different things, I think the only thing that I can think as an artist that I can continue to give is the reminder that we're all doing it together. Because I think you can become very separated and very grouped off and whatnot, but I think empathy, it's just a reminder that we do all have the same problems. We are...
And it's also a great part about being in an audience is when you're all feeling that emotion together. Even though you all know, hopefully, that this is bad, this is the good guy, this is the lover, they should be together, and we're all going to want that. But there is something about being with other people and being like, oh yeah, we do have this in common. We're all feeling the same thing. That I think you're right. It is important to remind us that empathy is vital.
It's just tough because when Michael's saying all this stuff, I can't help but think of when people say, you're just entertainers. You're just there for me to enjoy an hour of my day and go back to and I hate hearing that, but at the same time when I hear you say this stuff, I'm thinking, maybe that's not such a bad thing, but at the same time, maybe that's exactly what we're doing, but I really...
I think that's on the audience member. It's how you use it. You know what I mean? It's like, are you eating food for it to be fuel to your body, or are you eating it to make yourself sick? Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's not to put an inherent judgment on the food itself. It's just at some point you've got to take responsibility for what you're consuming.
Well, I'm still on it.
I love it. I think I'm good with it.
But there's so and I can agree. I can agree with the empathy, but as I don't know exactly the thread that got pulled that made me trace it back, but I almost see it as the scene in The Devil Wears Prada where she's wearing the blue sweater and she's like, I don't know, it's just a sweater, and then Meryl Streep goes on the monologue and she's like, well, you're wearing that sweater because it was introduced in a line in 2009 and by so and so the next season everybody copied that color of blue and it got in, and then that sweater got made by, I don't know, whatever generic store that makes sweaters until it ended up into your little discount rummage bin and you found it for 70% off and you thought it was a deal and so you got it. The deck is already loaded and it's shuffled and it's already everybody and it's not like we're all sheep, man. Like we gotta like
Wake
break
up,
free.
sheep.
But it's something that like you just can't get away with it, because even if you're not a Star Wars fan, or even if you don't know everything about the Beatles, or even if you're not a fan of the LA Dodgers, you're still wearing the T-shirt.
Right.
You know,
I
like
think they've been on a losing streak since you put that on.
whatever. I don't care. I don't care about the Dodgers at all. Doesn't bother me a bit. I saw the shirt. I was like, you know what? I like it. Whatever. Bought it. Sue me. In a rubbish
Boom! You
bin.
get sniped through the window.
But you know, it's like that. It's already.
It's like the thing in itself.
It's already so woven into, I guess, specifically the like American culture, the idea of like popularity, or like, I mean, people use it as, I'm sure, and again, I don't know, I'm not a psychologist, but like you use it to identify with other people, or to say like, oh, you like, you know, I don't know, like for anything, it's how stereotypes are made. It's like the idea that, you know, if you like gaming, if you like playing Halo, then you also like to drink Mountain Dew and play Dungeons of Dragons. Like it just, like all of it. And where's that stuff come from?
Do you think that's necessarily an inherently negative thing, though? Because I think people typically, as a general idea, they do things. Now, if it's a negative stereotype, like something that's hateful or comes from a bad place, sure, that's bad. I always think that's bad. But eventually, like, in your time alive as a human being, you're only going to have time to do that so many things. You're going to do a few things you like, and then people are going to be able to relate to you because they're like, hey, you like those things, I like those things. It's not necessarily something that, I mean, if you look at it from above, like the Puppet Master view, it's a little bit like, I feel a little bit like it. You know, I can see how it's a little disconcerting, but it also kind of makes logical sense. If you just are like, there's only so much time to do so many things. It's not like we can all be savants in, 50 different fields.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree. Sure, I agree, but and this is also it's such a sticky, like, because that's how your brain works, though. It works in grouping things and putting things together in categories. And I'm not saying at all, I'm not making an argument that like we see things like that, and that's how, like, we see the world in boxes, or we see we see things in groups. And I'm not saying that should be applied all the way across the board for every single example, but it's like you're fighting your nature of like, okay, that's something that's poisonous that can kill me if I eat it, and that's something that is a little bit different, and it's like I can eat it and I'm fine. Like,
sure.
That it's built into your DNA, and where I'm trying to go with that is that, there are certain things that, when you group them together, that like, yeah, that's probably not good, and people is one of those things. I think obviously, like, yeah, don't be bigoted, don't be misogynistic, don't be racist
or
xenophobic.
nationalist.
Yes, that is no, absolutely not what I'm saying. It's like, it's not even funny to joke about, because it's like it.
Okay.
Well, no, I mean, well, no, I mean, like,
I'll let myself out.
No, it's like
I get you. I get what you mean.
Like, obviously, like, I don't think that it's good, but at the same time, it's like, well, it's ingrained. Like, and I'm not saying that like racism, for example, is inherently like embedded into your DNA. Nobody is born hating somebody, but when you have a system or a group or something that, like, a structure that's really built or based on, I can't, hold on, because I gotta work this out, or I'm gonna like walk into traffic after this, because it's like I feel like I'm about to uncover that I'm
we need to get a little soapbox for each episode and just set it out.
I'm just like a shitty person, and it's all meaningless.
No, this is good.
So if you're born into a structure or a system or a society that rules and things are inherent, and it's based on like, that's based on like an evolutionary system of thought of like, how do you, like, I eat that because I don't die when I do, and I don't eat that because if I do, I die. And somehow along the lines, like, people have, gotten so far away from it to where, you know, we're not thinking about anything that we eat in the grocery store. Like, that's just not a part of our thought process. Like, we're not like, if I eat that burrito, am I going to die rather than eating the kale quinoa one? Like, you're not thinking that, but it's still in your body and you're still thinking, like, it's embedded in deep. And the morale. Hold on.
I'm trying so hard.
I know.
I'm active listening. And I'm just working with you, man.
I know. Hold on. So,
Sean, are you with him?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that it's like you've got two things inside of you that are warring against each other that both make sense, right? So if I were to say categorizing and grouping, seeing the world divided and separate is bad or is good, and if I'm talking specifically about like eating something poisonous, I'm right, correct? Like, I can say like grouping things is good if that kills me and that doesn't. I'm going to want to drink this, I'm not going to want to drink that. But when you're looking at something as complicated as like art or politics or humans, grouping is not like that. You can't say like.
So you have an issue with subjectivity?
I guess so, and maybe how it's coming, how that subjectivity is used in art and what it's doing and how it relates to the masses, and not in the sense of like we're all sheeple. You know, we watch the news that we watch, or we watch the television or the movies that we watch, but like. It just it makes me want to kind of take a shower when it's like you make the realization that like this is just art, though, that it's not anything more. It could be, it has the potential to have a deeper meaning or an impact or something that is bigger than itself, but at the end of the day it's really just a sheet of paper. And it could be a sheet of paper that, like, I draw a penis on, or it could be a piece of paper that was, like, the first folio of Shakespeare, or, like, the Bible, or something, you know, like, it's like...
Yeah. Something...
It's hard to reconcile that, and maybe that's all that I'm trying to say here, is that it's difficult for one thing to be two separate things. It's like,
it's one thing to have an obvious objective choice between like poison and good for you, and it's another thing when it's all in the same bowl together.
But what I'm trying to say is that it's the same thing. So it's like I don't know. It's like this is a mug and it's half full. It's both of those things. I could say that it's just a mug, and it is. I could say that it's half full, and it is. But it's also like. It's intertwined. I guess.
How are you relating that to art?
That's what you take away from it.
That it can be meaningful. That it can change the world. That you can write. You know, you can read a book and it completely flip on your head. You know, everything that you think or that you know or that you perceive.
But the fact that you can also not trips you out.
No, but at the same time that it's like it's just a fucking book.
Right.
Like, who cares if you pass by? You know, you could be in a library and spend your whole life there, and there could be one book that's right there on the shelf that you never even touch because for whatever reason, you know, you're over in the computer section, or you're, you know, reading, or you're looking in fiction when it's something else.
Sure.
That, like, that's what I'm trying to say, is that it could be the most important thing, and you never even see it, and that's fine, and that's life. But at the same time, it would be a shame to go your entire life without ever coming across that book.
So isn't that why you should show up then? Because that's how you started this, was by saying that. I think you've come around full circle. You started this by saying like, why go to the theater or why do art? Because it could just be. It's like, what are we just going to get like the same 5 stories, the same 20 emotions? But it could be something incredibly relevant because of that subjectivity.
And maybe I'm flipped, and now I'm where you were back then.
I'm just going.
Well, no. Yeah, you go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
It's just, I think it's individual too. Each person's on that path,
That's
and each person's going to decide when I'm going to pick up that book.
Sure.
And if they don't pick up the book that day, they don't get that message.
Have you read Farewell Daughters?
Excuse me? Can we bleep that out?
Sean's never even heard of Hemingway. He's an idiot. No, I'm kidding.
I just love that Sierra was like, ooh, Hemingway. Ooh.
I think it's the other thing I was going to mention too is I think it's please.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm good. It's just it's so true. It's such a life thing too. It's like you can either choose to ascribe meaning to life, or you can choose to go through life and say, this is all for just whatever the hell it's for, and you're just kind of walking through the motions. I think it's just a day-to-day, individual by individual basis. It's really a fascinating. It's incredible that you just went for that 40 fucking minutes and brought that back around to it's. I mean, and that it fits in with the fact that we were talking about this being a circle in itself.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it just feeds into what this is. It's just a continuous. God, it's so cool.
Well, that's I mean,
The whole
that's
thing,
one of
everything
the-
you talked about was
yeah.
cyclical, and it went cyclical, and it's really fascinating. It's really
It's like
fascinating.
it's always gonna be an op-ed. You can never be like art is never 2 + 2 = 4. You know what I mean? It's always gonna be something that's got that element to it where it's like, to me this is that, but to you it's not. That's why we have different
And-
favorite bands.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's okay. It doesn't necessarily mean my favorite band is superior to your favorite band. Whatever your band is had more of a relevance to you at the time when you heard it in those circumstances in that setting.
It's true. You're right.
There you
Yeah.
go.
And also, if there was a solution or an answer, I would just hope that it would just go away. You know, like I would.
Right.
I like the idea of there being the constant. Right? What would it be if we just knew?
Did you guys see Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? And they give them the one number. They're like, we figured out the answer to everything in the universe. And they're like, great. And it's like 46. And everyone's like, what? It might not be 46. It might be like 49.
Hundreds of
I don't
times in my life.
That's just ridiculous. Man.
It's a
Yeah.
really great.
This is gonna keep me up at night. I was already in a weird mood. It's like, well, everything's meaningless, but everything's also the most important. I guess it comes down to like, I'm still having a hard time reconciling like the, subjective and objective, and could it really exist in a world of absolute truth, or is there such thing as absolute truth, or is there not?
I mean, I believe in absolute truth, but I think in art, that's its own little thing that can be subjective. You know what I mean? I don't think...
Yeah, no, I know, but it's like because if there's a world of absolutes, there is a best and a worst, or there is like a most impactful, most powerful, and a least. There is something that could be as moving as the Mona Lisa, and something that could be as unassuming as like a I don't know, a poop in a toilet, or a string on a shirt, or a I don't know. It's just like
Toe hair on the podcast.
oh, and you can see my feet too.
Okay, so I'm interested now where you're going with that. If there is an absolute truth,
if absolutism is true and it works, then maybe this whole maybe the idea of subjective art, maybe that's just an illusion. Maybe that's just something, a lie that has been told, that's been perpetrated again and again and again, and that we think like, oh yeah, well, like there really is.
I think that's only a correlation. I don't think that's causation.
so why does questioning, if you believe in an absolute truth, isn't it also go hand in hand with the belief that you should question the absolute truth? I mean, am I right in saying that? That
I think so.
we've been taught, let me put it this way without getting too deep into the subject. If we believe there's
50 minutes in.
'Cause this could-
Let's not take this too far, boys.
I think it's interesting because that's what we do. I think we. Damn it.
No, go ahead. I'm so sorry. That's what we've been taught.
If there is an absolute truth, I believe that we've been taught to also question the absolute truth. So, how does that fit into, if there's an absolute truth and it's this, why are we also taught, and even if we weren't taught, we still would question the absolute truth? So
Because some things are just taste. You know what I mean? I think there's the difference between, like, there's a reason that it's not like Frank Sinatra or Elvis Presley, because maybe they were so revolutionary in music. They're inherently better than some small grunge band that just means something to you. Maybe they're more relevant to more people. That's fine, but it's just taste. It's not something that really matters when we're going right and wrong. There is no poisonous berry, healthy berry. It's just taste. You see what I'm saying? It's just opinion. It's not something where you need to be like, no, this is a competition. Everyone who's ever sang ever needs to be put into this box, and we're going to rank them and give them numbers and figure all this out. And then this is who wins. This is who all we can listen to, and that's it. Because then that's when you get into 1984. When people are kind of forced to be put into these certain funnels where it's like, this is what we've decided works for society. Great, everyone cool with that? Okay, this is all we do.
Yeah. But isn't that what we do I'm trying to get a little deeper than that.
Okay.
You're saying that, but I believe that a lot of people still fall in that.
Well, I think we like to try and rank things because it's fun. I like to be like, no, this is better than this, and you like to be, no, this is, and it doesn't really matter. It's just taste, and it's just fun for the debate and the argument of it. Unless you're trying to go something deeper than.
I'm going off a different track, but
Okay, what are you going?
I don't know.
What are you going? He said, using English.
I'm just it's the why are we here question really, and that's why I keep going deeper. But I'm asking if there's, I mean, I'm kind of touching it, but I'm just petting it, and I don't want to go much deeper.
I'm kind of just petting it.
And I kind of lost my train of thought anyway. But we do that. The book's an example of that. But I believe that we still ascribe that. We still categorize people and push people in different directions. Forget
It's
it.
tough.
For
It's
anything,
really tough.
for anything though, like that's the, like that's what I'm. Okay. Let me see if I can do this because like I don't know if I can even express it. So, you have a set of preferences and tastes, right? And based on those preferences and tastes that have been formed, however they were, can't go into it. Whatever. And it's okay. So I would never listen to metal music because I didn't grow up listening to it. I didn't like. But there could be something. There could be like something incredible that what are they doing?
Playing whack-a-mole.
I wonder if the
I
mic's
swear,
picking it up or else like it's
I
gonna
swear
look like that we're just crazy
it's
people.
their dog trying to scratch itself
Yeah,
and kicking
it's
the
just
floor.
thumping.
That is exactly what it sounds like.
I thought
your
it was
dog's
a
like
dog's tail or something.
like
Yeah.
kicking.
Okay, so I would never listen to something like that, or I should say it's not that I would never listen to it, but it would not be my choice in a million years if I had all of the music in the world to explore a band like, I don't know, Slayer or something. Like I just wouldn't do it. But perhaps that there is something that would be the most revelatory thing or an idea, a theme, a thought, a sentence, a word, a phrase, an expression, something that is in one of those songs.
And you're missing it?
And I'm missing it based on my preferences that were not, I wouldn't say like predetermined, but that were like heavily influenced
by external circumstances?
By things that had nothing to do with me. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like that, I guess like the truth, the thing that you're pulling out of it, that it is universal and that you can find that stuff all over the place.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know if that even.
No,
I don't know
makes a
if
lot
I
of
even like
sense to me.
if I even said anything that was like worth it. But yeah, that one's not. It's on mute. I just realized the flashing light. We got that one though. It's okay.
Cool.
Yeah, we're still getting picked up. It's all.
I know that's just hysterical that we didn't realize that till now. Yeah, it's tough.
Well, I would hope that what you just said, then there is a universal message going through all the art, no matter what you're listening to. I would hope that the message taken away from each thing is universal. Because you're right, there's music we're never going to listen to.
But it's not about like beauty or mass appeal or popularity. It's like if you can put it in or like take it down to its base form, that it is truth. But then what is that? And I mean, is it a lesson? Is it you see
I
what I
think it's
mean?
what Sean
though?
was saying earlier, the empathy and the understanding and the looking at something from a slightly different point of view that hopefully helps you grow as a person and, I mean, ideally
And then
help
Michael's saying
help people
grow
around
to,
you.
grow to what end? To what I think is where is it? What's it leading to? What if we're going in circles, Are we just on
Right.
a constant treadmill that's just
Right.
not moving, but we're getting the same? Where is it going to? Where's it going?
Or is it just a cyclical road to nowhere, and the devices are something that you could find comforting, like an afterlife or salvation could be found in religion, or you can, I don't know, politics with the idea of like freedom or democracy, whether or not you agree with like American policy on like foreign affairs, like whatever, like I think that you can take everything down to the root of like what it is, but yeah, like where is it going and what. I just have a hard time not asking like, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point? If you're already if you're inherently good, if you're I need to read some more philosophy. I'm just woefully unread.
This would be
I need to get smarter.
There
My
have
idea-
been some things you've said every podcast. That's one of them. There's the one when you're like, I'm about to just go and see if I find it. There's the thing you say where it's like, I don't have the science to back this up, but I think, like when you were talking about carbon, like I bet we could chunk it out from each episode so far, and this like the journey you take through.
I
each
feel
show.
like the only thing that I know for me is that I'm just like a big old thing of contradictions.
Oh no, I wasn't trying to say that
Oh,
to
no.
belittle you. I think
I know what my soul looks like, Craig. No need to hold the mirror
we can all
up.
see your soul.
Yeah. And my toe hair on top of it.
Call back. You're welcome
Alright.
for that clap, everyone.
I had one more point, but if we're feeling like we need to wrap this.
No.
You close us out.
That card's
I don't know if
got
it's
We'll
close
wrap
out.
the card's got another hour on
This
it.
better be
so we're
poignant
good.
because
I
this
hope
is
so.
ending
I
it.
just hope it's topically relevant.
I just wish now I remember. I know what I'm going to say. I don't remember what the hell you said right before
That's
I was
okay.
going to say
Doesn't
this.
matter. We'll play
But it's
it.
about. It's the feeling that it's that highest, the highest feeling that we feel. It's what we're. I think the only thing we can ascribe that we're striving to. We don't know what it is, but we. I think as human beings we go for that one feeling, and whether that's a lot of times shows itself through love or sexual affection or whatever that is, the thing that we're continuously striving for. I would hope that art and life in general, we're just trying to figure out what that is. And not only that, I think we're trying to, that feeling. And not only that, I think we're not trying to just get to that feeling, we're trying to stay with that feeling. So, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but whatever the highest thing that we feel and sense, and that bliss moment that everybody gets in different areas of their lives and different points of their life, I would think that we're just trying to be there always. And maybe it's just life is just a reminder of, you're not going to be there always. You're going to keep falling back down and you're going to have to get back to that moment. But I think that everything we do is just to get to that. And I think it's love. I really firmly believe it's love to the highest degree. But I think we're just continuously trying to get to that speck.
I'm on it. And, okay, so based on if you were to take different religions, Buddhists would say it's mindfulness, Christians would say it's salvation. I don't know, maybe Democrats politically would say it's I don't know, equality, where Republicans would say like freedom. It's all that we're all looking at the same thing based on whatever sort of category that you can put in front of it and say, all right, well, through politics, I think that the thing that we're looking for, that little like speck, is like it's Democratic,
or you think it's
or it's Republican, or it's Libertarian, or it's Green Party, and you think like, but you know what I mean? Like everybody is doing it all of the time, and you're doing it as a man, you're doing it as a woman, you're doing it as an adult, as a child, as a straight person, as a LGBTQ, whatever. Like you're all trying to rectify like all of it, but the thing that really throws wrenches in that is when people do put those categories on it, because it's something that should be devoid of
Yes.
classification.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm talking about with the idea of like absolute truth, that it should, if the thing that everyone is wanting is X, then it does, you can spin whatever the fuck that you want, and you can have this whole idea of like subjectivity, and you can say, well, I think that the Beatles are the greatest band ever. Well, I think that the Rolling Stones are. I think that U2 is. And you can all be right if you're describing the thing, but like at the end of it, there's got to be an end, and it's got to be definite, and there has to be a, I mean, or is there not?
What if it was also everything?
And all of it's the point?
And all of it's the point.
I'm going to dive on my mouth. I'm going to dive.
Because if you're saying what you're saying, how could everybody have a different view of what the spec is? I think it is everything but not everything but everything. It's really juicy.
I feel like Rob Bell with like the whole utilitarian approach to like Christianity of like, if there is a God and he does love you, and he sent his son to die on the cross for all of your sins, then regardless of whether or not you acknowledge him as being the Lord and Savior of your life, that he did, and so that you're going to be saved anyways. I don't know. I can't, like, I just...
It's complicated.
But then I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not smart enough. I just need
Well,
to
I'm
read
glad.
more. I need to read a damn book.
See, there's no way you can separate what we tried to start talking about from what we ended up talking about.
I don't even
That's
know
the
where
problem,
we
is that we
began.
try to separate where we began
Dude,
from.
let's bring this back to projections.
Oh shit, that's where it was.
I don't even want
Let me
to.
project my ideology on you.
Ah, this is just so sticky.
You're
This is what
welcome.
I believe. Believe it with me.
But you're right though.
No,
I'm
no,
right,
I think
and you're right, and we're all right, and we're all wrong. And
that's
maybe
what
not.
but that's the beauty of it. I think it's the idea of
But maybe
there's
so.
no pushing anything, because it's all right, it's all wrong. There's nothing you can push. There's nothing you can.
Well, that contradicts what you were just saying. You
Well,
were all
that's
just
it.
saying there's one thing to go for.
But it is-
Get
but
your
it is-
story straight, boys!
But it's contradiction. That spec is contradiction. That's right. I mean,
No,
it's-
because you just said
No.
10 minutes ago that it was this one universal thing that we all
It
related
is.
to no matter who we
No,
are.
but
That's
it
not
is
a
a-
contradiction.
yeah,
It's a
no,
unified,
but
unified theme.
No, because it's the same idea that if I describe this side and you describe this side, it's the same fucking thing. It's not changing.
But
It's
you're
definite.
seeing
It's
different
absolute.
things.
But I'm looking at something that says blank theater at the top, and you're looking at something that says nothing. You're right. I'm right. I'm wrong. If
That's
I,
powerful.
But thematically, this is still the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You just proved it.
you just said it.
You literally
No, because I was arguing that it's the same thing when you guys were contradicting.
No, because it's the same. That it's the idea that like this is this and it is also this.
All right.
Those two things aren't mutually exclusive, and you can't say for certainty that this notebook has a piece of tape on it, and you can't say that this, like, you don't know that because
Okay.
you don't see the other side until I flip it, and then I can't say with like I have no idea until I don't know.
I like it.
Two to one.
I love it.
2 to 1, Craig.
Okay,
You're
yeah,
wrong.
sure.
Subjectively, you're wrong. I don't
See,
know.
but
It
he's
makes-
also right.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh boy.
Contradiction.
I'm gonna go rob a bank because it just doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna go kick an ice
Don't
cream
do that.
cone
Don't do that.
into a puppy dog.
Don't do that. Maybe
I
take,
love how
maybe
at
take a
minute-
cold shower.
At minute like 20, maybe Craig was like, "Let's come back to this topic," and we ripped through another.
Yeah,
15
no, I
minutes
was
of this
trying so
topic.
hard to keep us on track.
Don't
But this
put
is
it on
to
great.
try and put us on a,
This is great.
on a topic by topic podcast that was organized, but that's okay.
No,
This is fine.
Look, this is an identity crisis. If I don't figure this stuff out, I'm gonna go to I'm gonna move to Montana and just become like a
Ooh,
rancher.
Montana's awesome.
Yeah.
You would probably be happier. Any of us would probably be happier.
Oh, I didn't get to my question. Where would we be happier?
Hey,
Was that your question?
next week we have two topics for next
No,
week,
I love this. Is great.
and this is good. I like the way that this evolved. Well, boys, I
just
think we
wanna
should
get to the-
I think we should revisit this on a later show. Maybe not necessarily next week, but I think we should touch back.
I want to get to the point to where we have 3-hour conversations and we talk about this.
That'd be fun.
I mean, not just like this specifically.
Well, you know
but
what? We
get a
where
more
you
comfortable
talked
couch.
about your topic and it
You know what we
just
do?
hurts me. If only you knew this sketchy neighborhood that Sarah and I had to go to.
I do know.
lengths
You've told
in
me.
which we went.
No, I love the couch.
Oh,
I
how
just
quick you forgot.
can't wait. I just can't wait to have.
Man,
You know what we
whenever
do?
to East LA, I thought I was going to lose my life for this damn couch.
We do a 3-hour session and we cut the camera at an hour and then we see where it goes for the next 10 hours.
Oh, that's when we get the juicy content. That's
No,
when we find
that's-
out who the real
No, but
Sean
then if they
is.
really want to hear it, they'll come.
No, but that's
sit in
the-
the living room.
Yeah, but that's
You want to come in? $5.
$5.
But
$5.
that's the benefit of podcasting, though. It's those long form ideas and like being able to really wrap your head around it, and you either come to the
I'm with you.
conclusion that you know it and you figured it out, or that you didn't, and it's all fine. I don't know.
It's conversation. Well, I mean, to put a button on this, I think that's the beautiful thing about doing a podcast or listening to a podcast is it is just people having conversation, and I think that's something important that we don't always take the time to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely think that there is definitely a place to do longer content. I don't think we're going to be able to get through 3 topics in an hour, and we'll figure that out as we go.
I just wish that I knew more about what the fuck I was talking about.
Oh man.
I always feel like
You guys-
gotta
I
do
just
more.
wish I knew.
You guys should be in my shoes when I'm sitting on the couch with you two. Holy shit.
What does that mean? You just
You both know more about what you're talking about than I. It's just interesting. We all.
Sean, you got a great necklace.
You're right, but you're also right.
And you know what that's
right, baby?
It's like the floater in my eye. I can never really see it. It just.
What are you talking about? The floater?
I know what
I
you
got a
mean.
floater in my
Yeah.
eye that's here, but it's not near my retina. So when I chase it,
Sean's
I'm
got
just chasing a speck. It's very.
Sean's got a piece of
relevant to what we've
glass
been talking.
from an early contact
There it
lens
is.
embedded in his eye.
There it goes.
All right, I'm gonna wrap
It's
this
just
up.
here.
I'm
guys.
so worried.
I'm wrapping this up.
Okay,
let's put a bow
well,
on this.
finish it. You got
All
it.
right, guys, this has been the Empty Theater Show. Thanks for watching. Once a week, 3 of us, and usually, hopefully, a guest will gather around this couch and talk out a topic regarding art for your amusement. If you like that, you can find us on emptytheater.org, and you can also find us, hopefully, on your various podcast devices like, I don't know, iTunes, hopefully SoundCloud, and we're on YouTube under Empty Theater. So check us out, please, and thank you for watching, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and tell your friends. So have a good one.